Alright, so then go to next node, next page, where you specify payment terms and other control data, something like this: purchasing group, planned delivery time, so on and so forth. Now you see here, goods supplier is defaulted, and you could see here these are the ones which are there by default. Okay, by default goods supplier has come, and these are the various possible other options that you have for your GNIS account group. Did you remember how did we configure account group and what are the things that we have done? Can somebody take the lead and let me know so that I assume like you all understood? Pavitra, I think మీరే ప్రాక్టీస్ చేస్తా ఉన్నట్టున్నారు మిగతా వాళ్ళందరిలోకి వెళ్ళాం.
Sure. Actually, vendormaster and Inka start sir practice. So.
Okay, not a problem. Let me explain you. First, I have created account group. Okay, so account group is available in the business partner under logistics general, where you could see vendors. Here under control section, I have defined my own account group. Okay, my account group is GNIS. That's what I have created. For GNIS, I have, you see here there is something called partner determination procedure. Okay, so this is the key with which all these things will come. We have discussed about field statuses, what are the fields to be maintained as mandatory, optional, etc. for various sections within the vendor master screen. And then after doing this, what I went there was I went into MM, material management, under which you have something called purchasing. Within purchasing, you have something called partner determination. Okay. So once you go into partner determination, you can define your own what you call the partners. Okay, where is it? Come down. Partner determination. So here you define your own partner roles in case if you have any special roles other than the ones which were given by SAP. If you are fine with the partner roles given by SAP, then what you can do is you have to assign the allowed partner roles per account group. So here for my own account group, which is GNIS, I have maintained some of them. Okay, so these are the ones which I've maintained, like ordering address VNIPFACAGS. Okay, if you could look at it, you see here these are the ones which I have maintained, right? Then what I've also done was, after maintaining allowed permissible or permissible partner functions per account group, I need to specify how will the system determine which partner function to be defaulted, for which I went into this particular setting, partner settings in vendor master, where I have defined my own schema, something like GNIS or something like that. You see here GNIS I have maintained. Under this, look at here, these are the ones which I have managed, and out of all these, you see goods supplier is maintained as mandatory because I have checked it here while creating vendor master. You see goods supplier has come automatically. Okay, so for example, if you want to maintain a certain partner as a mandatory, you have to check this one, or default you have to check this indicator, right? So this is how I have managed my partner functions. right? Finally, assign partner schemas to account group. So you have to remember this way. Let me specify it here. So what I did was I have assigned my partner roles to account group, and also I have assigned my partner, I would say, partner roles. Okay, what are they? Something like contact address, ordering address, goods supplier, isn't it? Vendor, forwarding agent, etc. All these are, okay, assigned to what we call it as account group. Okay, or let me put it this way: Control X, Control V, and also all these are also assigned to something called partner schema. I get you my point. So you could see here both of them, or the account group as well as partner schema, are linked with all these two things. So in a way you can say the partner roles are linked with account group and via partner schema and on the account group. Okay, this I will be doing it here, assignment of partner schema with the account group. So here my partner schema is GNIS, sorry, account group, for which I have assigned GNIS as the partner schema. Also, there is a possibility, like we discussed yesterday, the 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 purchasing data of the vendor master can be further subdivided into two more levels, something called vendor sub range and client level. In case if you maintain those two sub levels, you can determine partner functions based on those levels also. In case if you want to define partner function based on those levels, then you have to create two more partner schemas, one for vendor sub range, another for client. Okay, so that is optional, so therefore I have not defined it, right? So this is how I have created, or I have maintained my account group. Okay, so with this the configurations for the vendor master settings are also done. So far we have discussed
So
with,
can you show again for the
which one do you want me to show,
so can
Pavitra?
you show again for the plant group?
No, I have not created any vendor what you call subgroups within the purchasing data, Pavitra. In case if you want it, I'll show you. You see here under where you have defined your account group. Okay, under here GNIS is your account group. Select this, go with details. If you want to maintain those two subgroups, you have to check either of these two or both, depending upon which subgroup you wanted to maintain. Only then you can use these things. Otherwise, there is no point in maintaining them. Is it clear?
Advantage of using those two.
Advantage of using these two is, for example, a vendor may say a certain group of products will have some price, a differential price than a different group of products. Like I told you, vendor sub-range is nothing but grouping of products at vendor's premises for his own convenience, right? So you can have a different price maintained for a different vendor sub-range. You can use that way also. Similarly, plant relevant conditions you can maintain. A vendor need not have to supply the material for the same price in both of your plants. Possible. In such cases, we we further subdivide the purchasing data into these sub-levels.
So I just want confused because we can maintain a contract separately. It's like for the vendor wise and the plant wise. Then why do we require again this one?
You are talking at the transactional level, Pavitra, but I am talking at master data level. See, you can definitely create a contract at central level, and that can be extended at plant levels. But here, the vendor master data, I'm talking about master data. I'm not talking about transactional data, right? So the
But you said that prices can be maintained separately for the sub ranges and plant level.
correct
That
different
that
price range, different price range. That's what I said. Let me just open the slide also, so that will be easy for you. Give me a moment. Let me open it. With screenshot, you will understand it well. So just wait for a couple more minutes to see whether it is opening or not. No, this is for configuration. I'm sorry. ಆಯ್ತಮ್ಮ ಒಕ್ಕ ನಿಮಿಷ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು. So now let me show you that one. Okay, so look at this, Pavitra. Vendor subrange represents the way the vendor groups his products. They are maintained in the vendor master on the basis of information provided by your vendor. Okay, so this we have discussed. For each vendor subrange, you can maintain a purchasing data as a default for the material master record, a purchase info record, a purchase order, and outline agreement. For example, vendor may offer different Incoterms or require a different minimum order value for each of his product lines. So if you see it here, this guy vendor is dealing with sports related products. Okay, so if I don't know what to call this, the security gadgets or accessories for the sports person, he can group them together. Okay, and for them he must be expecting some minimum order, though the vendor master is same. Similarly, the shoes, okay, he may group these shoes of different brands, right? So he can group them into a different group, and he can expect a different minimum order for that. Are you getting my point? So that the prices can be maintained like this. And also when I say price, it's not the price purely on the basis of vendor sub range. obviously you will not maintain any price in the vendor master, but whereas the price is maintained in the info record, where your vendor subrange plays a key role. So that's how we use it. You could see here, you can set up price conditions that are specific for these sub-ranges. For instance, an extra transport cost for precious goods. Or you could just use this functionality in order to have an extra possibilities in certain reports. The vendor sub-ranges, you first need to create a possible sub-ranges in the material master purchasing view. See in the menu, okay, we can see it. Once created, you can assign materials to these sub-ranges in the purchasing info record. Okay, let me show you that one also.
Maybe the example, like maybe we can maintain for the vendor that the minimum order should be something like $250 or $300. Is that like that?
Exactly, for certain group of products. I mean to say, it's not for a single material, but for certain group of products. So first of all, what we have to do is we have to maintain these things. You will have something called vendor subrange here. Do you see vendor subrange somewhere? Come on, where is it? Okay, first of all, it needs to be, these subranges needs to be created. So, so this is how it happens for certain materials, okay, to be procured from a certain vendor. Let's say from one vendor you are procuring 10 materials. Maybe out of 10, 3 are grouped together, 3 are grouped together, and then rest 4 are grouped together. For first 3 materials, he expects a minimum order of say 1000 USD. Maybe the last 4 materials he expects a minimum order value of 10,000 USD. So these things will be controlled by a vendor subrange. And also, so for the first 3 products, because they may be what you call resin kind of material, packing need not be a problem. Any material, any packing can be done. Maybe for the last 4, because they are plastic, they may get damaged during transportation, so therefore a special care needs to be taken. So something like that, okay, within the purchasing itself, you can have a different value for that. So that's how it is being used.
Okay, understood, sir.
Yeah. Right. So once creating vendor master, right? So let's have a look at this. Did we define? Okay. So master data we have discussed here. Material master we have discussed the vendor master, right? So now let's work with the other master records. Now I've got couple of materials. What materials do I have? I've got couple of materials /n. Did we discuss about tables? Did I explain you about what table is meant for which which tables are relevant for purchasing, which tables are relevant for master data, so on and so forth?
No, sir, we have not discussed.
Okay. Give me a moment. Then I have a file with all the tables, something like SAP tables. Where is that file? Let me find it out. This one. Okay, let's quickly go with these tables immediately, and then we will go with the other master data records. You see here how to use this document. I'll keep this document in the folder. You see SAP tables, table key, and then there are different types of tables, something like transparent table, cluster table, pool table. Of course, we need not have to know about these table types. Only the above will be working with those types. Okay, as far as possible, we use transparent table where the data gets maintained or stored. Okay, so now you could also see the linking relation. This is one-to-one. Wherever you see one-to-many, this is called as one-to-many. One is branching out into multiple lines, that is called one-to-many, right? Now look at here, master data tables. There is something called CEPC, Profit Center Master Data Table. This is for controlling module. CSKS table is the Cost Center Master Data Table. Again, um, controlling module relevant master data. KNA1 customer master, SD relevant data, LFA1 vendor master, MERA material master, SKA1, SKB1 general ledger master data. T001W is plant branches, means company code. For each company code, we will have various plants, right? So the plant information will get saved in T001 W, and the company code data table data is T001. There is also something called T001K, which contains which plant is assigned to which company code. Okay, are these the only master data table? No, there are many more master data tables. Okay, now I'm skipping this FICO section because we don't require this. Okay, and then I'm skipping even this one also, FI relevant thing. FICO not required for me, but I'll forward this document in case if you are interested, you can just go with it. Now look at material management. There's a small mistake here. It's not material management. This is called inventory management. So it's purchasing, inventory management, invoice verification. Together formulates your material management, which will be integrated with financial accounting of the FI accounts payable module. Okay. Now there are various tables involved here. There are few tables here, EKKO and EKPO. EKKO is purchasing document header details. EKPO is purchasing document item details table. And then there is something called KNMT, MAKT. These are also master data relevant tables. Okay. Now you see here, KNMT is customer material info record table. Of course, when you are selling a material to a specific customer, a product to a specific customer, that is called customer info record, and that information will get saved in KNMT table. Whereas MAKT is material master description table. Similarly, EKKO and EKPO. EKKO is purchasing document header. EKPO is purchasing document item. Details table.
Sorry, Venkat, can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah. Just so that.
We are seeing the tables.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a naming convention to identify that this is a header table, this is a line item table, this is a schedule table, things like that? It's very hard to remember these names. Say, for example, EKKO is a header, which you said. But people for us, like us, we don't know what is KO and PO, EKPO.
I will give you. I can't say it's a naming convention, but I have my own technique of remembering all these tables. I'll give you those things. Okay, so let me show you here. Even the transaction codes also, I remember like this only. Okay, so let's say SE16. I'm going into this particular thing. You see here, all the tables starting with M, they are meant for material master relevant tables. I would say MM basically. If you go with MM, star and F4, you could see all the tables relevant for material master. You see here, how many are there? There are more than 30-40 tables are there. Okay, I'm sorry. All the transaction codes which starts with MM is for material master. Tables, it is M star. The one that I started is correct. Okay, you will have so many things, right? So do we require all these tables? No, not required. I'll give you whatever the required ones. Okay. So now let me show you /O. There is a transaction code for mass maintenance of material master. If you go into that, okay, you see here these are the material master relevant important tables. You could see there MARA, general material data or master data table, MARA, is meant for material master. The basic data 1 and 2 views information will get saved there. Then table MAKT, that is material description table. Simply the material number with material number, or for that matter with the keys. It's very difficult to remember the material. So therefore, material number and material description will get saved in a table MAKT. And then plant relevant data of material master will get saved in MARC. Then accounting view. Accounting view 1, accounting view 2, controlling those information will get saved in MBEW. Okay, and then storage location, stock information, storage location, stock, plant stock, etc. That information will get saved in MARD, MARD. Right? Then MARM, unit of measures, order unit, base unit, right? So those units will get saved in MARM. Then sales views, sales org data 1, sales org data 2, sales organization text, etc. will get saved in MVKE. See, there is I'm remembering all these things with something called material status. Did you remember material status in the configuration of material master? Did you remember those things? I'm actually from that point
Yes,
from that perspective, I remember all these things. I need not require any of these tools. Let me show you here. Those things in the material master, where is it? It's here. When you go into configure material master, okay, define structure of data screens and for each screen sequence. I told you that's how I remember. Somebody is putting a message. Okay, so here we have discussed something like, status E is meant for purchasing, B meant for accounting, D meant for MRP, isn't it? K meant for basic data. So it's actually those individual keys I'm taking from here, and in fact it's been taken that way only. Okay, so system is very slow, you have to wait for a minute.
sir. Do we have to remember all the codes for the material status?
Do we have to remember all the codes? What do you mean by codes?
Yeah, K, that is K for basic data
Or you mean
and
to say
everything.
the statuses? You need not have to remember,
Yes.
Pavitra, but the only thing is, it's good if you remember it. If you do not remember also, it's no harm, but you should know exactly where to look at in case if you require. I'm talking
Okay.
about these ones. You see here,
Yeah.
these things you need not have to remember, but you should know exactly at where you should look in case if you require information.
Okay, sir.
Right? But because I've been teaching for more than 9 years, so that's the reason I remember all these statuses, transaction codes, tables, so on and so forth. But once you start practicing or working on the system, you do remember it. It's not so difficult. Okay, say for example, I assume B meant for business. Who will do business? Accounting team does business. And then L means general plant data storage view. L means what? Location. What is location? Plant is the place where everything takes place. So L is like that. E is purchasing. V sales, right? D MRP. So that's how I remember. Stock. Stock means what? X. So this is how I have followed it. So that's my own way of interpreting it and then remembering these things. If you feel it is okay with you, or if you are find it easy to remember, you follow this method, or you may have to derive your own method. But basically, this is how they have been taken. Right? So if you look at it, you see here E stands for purchasing. There, I've shown you E is for the purchasing. Similarly, MDKP. D means what? MRP. That's what I told you. M is material. The second one is D. MRP relevant data. Okay. Then T. Wherever you see K, the third character, wherever you see K, that is header information. Wherever you see T or P, T or P, this is item level information. So that's how you should interpret it. So that
Thanks.
yeah. And then let's have a look at purchase requisition. In case of purchase requisition, you have no header information. So all the data will get saved in EBAN, purchase requisition table, right? And then the account assignment information in purchasing will be saved in a different tables. In case of purchase requisition, it is EBKN. In case of purchase order, it is EKKN, right? And then the text information, text elements, okay? So the text element information will always get saved in STXL and STXH. Again, H is header level text, L is item level text. Okay, so now you see here, this is purchase orders, EKKO and EKPO. These are the two main tables. Along with it, EKKN is account assignment table for the purchase order items, line items. And then there is something called EKET, delivery schedules for the scheduling agreement, right? So this EKKO and EKPO are the main tables for all the outbound purchasing documents, be it RFQ, quotation, purchase order, contract or scheduling agreement. For everything, these are the two what you call the purchase main tables. But for the account assignment categories, this is the table for all the four outbound document types. Whereas delivery schedules, we do maintain delivery schedules in case of scheduling agreement, and that gets stored in EKET. Similarly, purchasing info record will get saved in something called INA, EINA, and there is also uh, something called in the purchasing info record, which we are going to see, general data, purchasing data. There are two sections will be available. General data will get stored in INA and EINE, ending with E. Again, E is purchasing. So the purchasing, specific purchasing data in the purchasing info record will get saved in EINE, EINE. Similarly, you will be maintaining a source list that is gets stored in table called EORD, right? So all these tables we are going to touch upon in the next 45 days, or rather, till before we complete the course. And then in case of inventory management, we have got fewer tables. MSEG is the main table. This is where the goods receipt document gets saved. And then MKPF, within the material document, you have header and item details. So MKPF contains the header information. There is something called EKBE, purchase order history, will get saved here. Right? In case if it's a consumable material for which you are doing receipt, it gets stored in MWork. Okay. So like this, you have got different tables, right? And then there is something called conditions to be purchasing conditions to be maintained in a purchasing document. Those things will get saved in KYNH and KYNP. NH is header, P is item, right? So again, they will be linked with INA and EINA, right? So these are various tables that we use. Product planning, sales and distribution. You have everything here. I'll add this file into the folder so that you can go through it. Okay. Now, when we are done with this account group and vendor master, etc., the next thing that we are going to discuss is purchasing. Under purchasing, okay, so under purchasing, we have something called info record and source list. Okay, so let me just go with purchasing.
Sir,
Yes, Pavitra.
all those tables are very confusing. And is there any other easy way to identify if you see that EKPO, just see the table name and this is for purchasing
It's not
order text or something like
it's not confusing at all, Pavitra. You see here, for example, if I wanted to find out the purchasing relevant tables, go with E star F4. These are all the purchasing relevant table. Okay. For example, you wanted to find out purchase order relevant table. Control F, find. Okay. Purchase order. It's not coming. Okay. In that case, you just go with PURCH start order. Not coming. You can just simply go with PURCH.
uncheck the starting at current line.
I'm sorry. Come on. Why is it not picking?
There is and symbol.
Okay, this is the problem. Okay, 999. We just go with PURCH. What's happening? Something is wrong. It's not working. Okay, so this is how you should go with it, basically. Or the other way is you can easily go with this way also. Table name, go with F4, cost elements data. Why is this has come? Somebody managed it. M star. Okay, at least you know part of the table. You can say ending with this F4. M star A ending with F4 means it will give you all the tables which are starting with M and ending with A. So like this you have to go and find it out. Or if you want to identify or if you want to know what are all the tables in MM, I might be having a list of tables which I can forward it to you. I just have to find it out where they are there in my system. Okay, somewhere it should have been there. I'll do one thing. I'll find it out and give it to you. I'm sorry, I can't find it right now, but I can give you at later stage. I'll find it out and give it to you. Okay. So now what we are going to do is we will just go around purchasing briefly and then we will go with in detail. So in the next, let's say half an hour to 40. Yes, Pavitra?
Before going that, we had a question regarding the material master on Sunday. You told us that you'll let us know.
Oh, that one I'm yet to look into it, Pavitra. I'll check it and get back to you. I remember. That is for the special material, the special create transactions, right?
Yeah, and one more thing about that currency.
Yeah, I remember that one as well. I didn't find time to look into it, Pavitra. So that's the reason I've noted somewhere here down. Okay, I think these are the ones, right? So I will check it and get back to you. I'm yet to look into it.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so let's try to understand the overview of purchasing. So in the purchasing, we are going to cover the rest following topics, like the overview of purchasing means purchasing cycle, purchase requisitions, how to create requisitions, how to process requisitions, what do we require to create a requisition, request for quotations and quotations themselves, purchasing info record, purchase orders, outline agreements, etc., etc. We will see, and then we have something called condition technique, which we use it in multiple applications. So we discussed about condition technique in detail. We will discuss about something called sourcing administration, and also we will see some user control authorizations. This is for defaulting some purchasing information into the purchasing transactions automatically. Along with it, we will also discuss about reporting in purchasing and various configurations associated with purchasing. Okay, so it's important to understand the function of a purchasing organization in purchasing in the SAP. Why? Because purchasing being the major topic in material management, and also you should be knowing which department is responsible for carrying out the various tasks in purchasing. Obviously, it is purchasing department. So therefore, you have to understand the functionality of purchasing organization aka purchasing department, and the procurement cycle involves. Okay, you have to understand what is procurement cycle, what are the documents associated with procurement cycle, and which parts of SAP is interacting with which other part, right? So all these things you need to understand in the purchasing, right? Now you could see here, this is what we call it as procurement cycle. Okay, so procurement cycle or purchasing cycle, or you can also call it as P2P cycle, that is procure to pay, right? So what are the activities performed in this particular cycle, and how do we go with it? Okay, so let me start with this one. Let's say any purchasing activity should start with what? Any purchasing activity should start with Pavitra, Radhika, or Lakshmi. You should say
Requirement, sir.
requirement.
Requirement.
Good. It's not RFQ, Sundarasa. Any purchasing activity should start with the requirement for the material or a service. That is what we call it as need. Unless you have a need for a material, unless you have a requirement for a material or a service, right? You don't do any purchasing activity. So therefore, the starting point for the purchasing is identification of the need or indent generation. In other way, we call it as indent generation. When there is a need, you need to raise an indent for the material or a service, right? That particular aspect is called requirement. So you see here, this requirement. A requirement can be generated, a requirement in SAP terminology, you call it as purchase requisition. What is purchase requisition, Pavitra?
It is a basically specifications and unit of measure, quantity, etc. It's a combination of all this.
Combination of all this, with which what do? You maintain it in
They'll
a
raise a
document, and then the
requisition
document will be given to whom?
to the sourcing department, that is purchasing.
Exactly. That's what I'm expecting from you. A requirement generation or a purchase requisition is nothing but an internal request to the purchasing department. Say yes or no. A purchase requisition is an internal request to the purchasing department upon the requirement of a certain material or a service. Right? So, this request, that is purchase requisition creation, can be done by multiple ways. You can create the request, that is indent, on your own manually. That is what we call it as creation of a purchase equation manually. Right? That is one way of creating requisition. What are the other ways? Radhika, can you answer me, please? I'm asking these questions in order to, make you guys awake, because I know you've been working
Aut-
late nights and
Auto
then,
requisitions like maintaining in
is it Radhika?
no, Pavitra.
I asked this question to Radhika because I'm not just getting any responses from other people. I want you all to, to awake and give me responses. Can you answer me, please, Radhika? One way of creating purchase equation is creating it manually. What are the other ways?
Raising it in the transactional systems.
Auto generate.
Exactly. Auto generate. How will the system generate it automatically?
Yeah.
What are the ways and means? You can generate a purchase requisition manually. That's one thing. Auto generate is a generic word, but auto means what? By
For example, if the site requires the particular material, regularly, once in a 10 days, once in a 15 days, so they will set up in the system, so every 10 days or 15 days it will get generated. The requisition get generated.
fair enough. Okay, so I'm not expecting a 100% foolproof consulting answer from you, because you being an end user or process owner, that's what I'm expecting from you. I appreciate it. Right. So, auto generation of requisitions can be done by multiple ways. For example, if you set up planning for the material, if you set up certain planning parameters in the material master and at the plant level, when you run MRP, material requirement planning, system automatically generates the requisition at regular intervals of time, like she said. Other way is, let's say you have got equipment, machinery in your plant, you are going for a preventive maintenance. Are you getting my point? See, after 6 months, all your machines in the plant are going to be halted for a day or 2 or 3. At that point of time, you may be replacing worn out parts, broken parts, so on and so forth. Right? How do you go for preventive maintenance? Somebody should raise preventive maintenance order. I'm going to overhauling this machine. I'm going to do something else on that machine. So therefore, there is something called PM order, preventive maintenance order. With reference to preventive maintenance order, provided if your plant maintenance module is integrated with MM module, a purchase requisition will be created automatically. Similarly, in case if your sales and distribution module is integrated with MM module, right? And if the material that you are working with is a third party material, means you will buy from one hand and sell it to your customer on the other hand. Such materials, to buy the material, you have to have a purchase order, or to sell the material, you have to have a customer order, which is sales order. So therefore, what you do, you first take the order from your customer and then you buy it from your vendor, you add your own piece of profit and then you sell it to the customer, right? So therefore, what you do is you first create a sales order. With reference to sales order, here in this case, a purchase requisition will be created. Again, this is automatical. So therefore, a purchase requisition can be created either manually or automatically. Automatically, we have got different scenarios which we will discuss it as and when it comes. So, your purchasing cycle starts with requirements generation or identification of the requirement with which you will be creating a purchase requisition. Good. once purchase requisition is generated, what will you do, Lakshmi?
We would identify what the various fields attached to the requisitions, who is the vendor, how much is the amount, when is it required, the parameters to convert it into a purchase order.
Okay. Convert it into purchase order. Assume it this is a new material which you are sourcing for the first time. What do you do?
Look for the delivery date, when it is required.
Basically,
Check for
for
the
my
vendors first.
Exactly. You need to identify who can supply me this
We
material.
request RFQ for
Yeah. So that you're saying something?
yeah, the same what the other saying.
So
Basically, you
if
need to
it's a new
identify the vendor.
material, yeah, if it's a new material, you have to identify who are all the suppliers for this material in the external market. Provided if it needs to be procured from external market resources. If it is an in-house produced material, you need to look for which plant will manufacture this material. Okay, so that's leave aside the internal procurement. So basically, we are discussing external procurement. So therefore, I'm keeping aside the in-house production part. Okay, that is part of production process module. Leave that one aside. So when there is a requirement for a material, the first thing that you should be looking for is the material have a fixed vendor or not. If you have the sources already available, then you go and assign the source of supply to the purchase requisition, as Lakshmi said in the beginning, and then you process it into PO. Correct? Provided if it's a one-time requirement, right? These three conditions should match. If there is source of supply already available, point number one, and if it is one-time requirement, point number two, then you assign the source of supply to the requisition line item and then process it into purchase order. Okay? Next, if it is a new material having no sources available right now, simple, you wanted to buy a laptop, you do not know what is the price, you do not know who can supply or from whom you can procure it. What will you do, Lakshmi?
RFQ.
Raise an RFQ,
Okay, fine.
With the different multiple vendors.
Good. There is an
Trying to
RFP,
find
right?
out.
But now you tell me exactly to this question. Now you wanted to buy a new laptop. What will you do? You are in Hyderabad. You know the places where laptops are sold, right? So what will you do? You visit different shops and then you ask for
quotations.
So here you are manually asking quotation, or else in a way when you are doing business, you request for quotation in a proper format, right? So it means you will be requesting the known people for submitting their quotations. So that way, what you are expecting, you will be giving something called a quotation deadline date. For example, you are sending a request to the known people saying that, hey boss, look at this, we need so and so material on so and so date. If you can supply this material, please let me know your conditions. And by this time, we are expecting you to submit your quotation. Is this the one that you specify? Right? So you send RFQs to various vendors.
Yes.
And assume it you have sent it to 10 people, 10 vendors, out of 10, 8 have responded. So it means you have received 8 quotations, right? So once you receive the quotations, what will you do? You are in the sourcing, you should answer these questions.
We'll check for the better price.
At least by the time you receive quotations, you should know exactly who are all the suppliers for this material, right?
Yes.
At that point of time, you create a source list for a specific material. This is my material. vendor A, vendor B, vendor C, vendor D, vendor X, vendor Y, vendor Z. These are all the sources of suppliers. Are you going to do business with them or not? A secondary issue. First of all, you have identified these are my sources of suppliers for a specific material requirement. Yes or no? Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I think we have lost somebody.
Yes,
Is there any
I think
pause?
Lakshmi.
Okay. Right. So once you have the source list, then means once you identify these are my sources of suppliers for a specific material, then being sourcing team or a purchasing team, your buyers will start negotiating with the identified vendors, isn't it? So once you
Yes.
receive the quotations, you compare it, you identify L1 bidder, L2 vendor, L3 vendor, so on and so forth. Then you start negotiating with those vendors on the price or on other terms and conditions. Correct? So once you have done that one, finally what will be the outcome by doing this vendor evaluation, or what we no, vendor evaluation is not right word, comparison of quotations. Okay, comparison of quotations can be done by two means. One is what you call um, there will be a checklist given to these people to see whether this vendor is um, qualified for the final bidding, that is for the pricing. First of all, you need to assure you need to assure that so and so vendor can really supply the material. Everybody cannot go and um, you know submit their bids or quotations. It cannot be done that way. So therefore, from the quality perspective, there will be some evaluation. A different board will be there. They evaluate it. Can this guy be considered for final pricing or not? So once that is done, that is outside SAP system. Okay, analysis of different vendors from the quality perspective, etc., that is outside of SAP. Once you identify those vendors, then you start negotiating, and then they give the quotations, and then you finally verify all the quotations, you compare it, and then you identify the lowest bidder based on price. At that point of time, you select a vendor, and then based on need, that is, if it's a one-time requirement, you go and create a PO, or else if it's a repetitive requirement over a period of time, then you go with contract, isn't it? So while creating PO or while creating contract, you will be negotiating the prices and other terms and conditions with the vendor. At that point of time, during negotiation period, whatever the accepted conditions, price and other conditions, they will be maintained in the form of info records. They are called purchasing info records. So once you have these info record, of course this info record can be created automatically or manually, that we will see when it actually comes. So finally PO is created, given it to the supplier. Supplier receives the PO, he acknowledges it in case if it's required so, and then he delivers the material. Once the material is delivered, somebody in the stores, he has to receive it. Once he receives it, he prints a receipt slip, or what we call as GR slip, and then along with the goods receipt, your vendor may send you an invoice, or immediately after sending the goods, he might send you an invoice which needs to be verified, and then the payment takes place upon successful verification of the vendor or vendor's invoice, and then the payment takes place, isn't it? So this is what we call it as procurement cycle, purchasing cycle, or in other way P2P, procure to pay cycle. Any questions on this? Girls from sourcing team or anybody? Sundarao Garu, Sridhar, Sudhakar?
No, sir.
All right. If you have no questions, let me move on to the next slide. Here, in purchasing, or rather sourcing and purchasing, because all the documents, whether it is master data or the transactional data that you create, everywhere we use purchasing organization. So therefore, it's recommended to understand the functionality of the purchasing organization, right? And various types of purchasing organizations that we have already discussed in enterprise structure. So as you can see here, a purchase organization's function is to obtain materials or services from the vendors on accepted terms and conditions. Okay, if I have to answer it, what is purchase organization? I would say this one. The responsibility of the purchasing organization is to identify the potential sources of suppliers, negotiate the terms and conditions, and follow up on the purchasing for the materials and services for which they have raised the orders, right? So therefore, it's their responsibility to negotiate the terms and conditions, record those terms and conditions, and also follow up with the vendors on the open orders. Each purchasing organization has its own company code. We have seen it. There are different types of purchase organizations: plant specific purchase organization, company code specific, global, standard, so on and so forth, right? So a purchasing organization needs to be assigned to the company code in the purchasing document, irrespective of whether it is plant or company code or a central purchase organization. Okay. And also, more than one plant can be serviced by a purchasing organization, as you have seen. Okay, you could see even here also, this is what we call it as, this purchase organization is company code specific purchase organization. It can feed the requirements of multiple plants in a specific company code. Okay, and then processing of purchasing documents. You see here, a purchase requisition, an indent is created. If you have the source of supplier, you go and create a purchase order, right? If you have no source of supplier available for a certain requisition item, then you will be raising RFQs, sending it to different vendors. Those vendors will give you quotations. You compare those quotations. Finally, you select a vendor and a PO will be created if it's a one-time requirement. If it's a long-term requirement, you either go with contract or you go with something called scheduling agreement. There's a difference between scheduling agreement and contract, which we call them as outline agreement, both of them together, which we will see it in the middle of purchasing. Okay, so this is broadly what we call it as purchasing. Any questions? Well, if you have no questions, let me go with the purchase requisition, the starting point.
So will this cover the consignment agreement, sir?
Oh yes.
Or is there a different topic? Because
Consignment, there is something called special procurement scenarios wherein I'll explain you the consignment, how to work with consignment orders. But I will explain you what is consignment in the purchasing itself. Okay, so let's proceed with the requisitions. Like I told you, a requisition is an internal document which is a request to the purchasing department. Before you actually sell your order to the supplier, you have to have an internal agreement with what is required, how much you require, when do you require, etc., etc. So on these details like what is required, how much quantity you require, and when do you require, you have to have a proper understanding or an agreement within the team itself, within your company code, and then you raise an order. So before sending a purchase order to a supplier, it's necessary to have some internal agreement on what is required together with an audit trail of approvals for that requirement. A purchase requisition provides this facility and is an internal request to the purchasing. Once it's been electronically signed off, means once it is electronically approved, okay, you can generate that PR into PO, which is an external document, which is an external document by which you are legally asking the supplier to deliver the material. Okay, so here we need to understand a PR cannot be directly used for ordering the material. It means what? PR cannot be sent to the supplier directly. Okay, so the next one, let's look at the next slide. Processing of purchase requisitions. We have discussed couple of minutes ago that a requisition can be created manually or automatically, right? So you see here, this is what we call as a manual creation of a requisition. Automatic, you can go and actually create automatically. So based on the procurement type indicator, when you run MRP, the system directly creates a purchase requisition provided if the procurement type is external procurement, or if it's an in-house production material, then the MRP run will create a planned independent requirement. Okay, or if the procurement type indicator is X, means what? Sometimes external, sometimes internal. In that case, your MRP system will generate a planned order for that material when you run MRP, which either can be converted into purchase requisition, provided if you want to go with external procurement at later stage, or if you want to go with in-house production, you will be creating or converting the planned order into production order. Okay, so therefore, of course, like I said, there are other ways also to create a requisition. From PM order, you can create a requisition. From sales order, you can create a requisition, so on and so forth. From network order, you can also create a requisition. So these are various means with which a purchase requisition can be created. Let's try to understand how to create a purchase requisition. Okay, so now let me go into purchasing. So like I said, in purchasing, we have got different documents. Purchase requisition, okay, so we have something called purchase, or I would say RFQ / quotations. Okay, so we have purchase orders, we have something called outline agreements. Okay, now purchase requisition. So here you have to understand a couple of things. I'll just try to create a tabular kind of structure, which will be useful for you to just have a look at it before you actually go for interviews. Okay, any document in SAP will have document type. Okay, you see here, this is something called application. I would say document category, document type. Okay, I would say transaction codes, and I would say tables. So application, what is application? I would say purchase requisition. Document category, you can call it as B. Document type, and B. Transaction codes, ME. By the way, all the transactions starting with material master MM, all the transactions starting with um, purchasing. Okay, all the transactions which are starting with purchasing or ME. So you have a transaction code called ME51N slash ME51. 51 is obsolete. Okay. Similarly, you have 52 an ME.
53. 53.
Yeah. Okay. And then the tables. Tables for purchase requisition is EBAN. Okay. And also EBKN. So like this you will be updating it. So as and when we work with the documents, I'll keep come here and update this particular table. Now you see I wanted to create a purchase requisition manually. Until we go into MRP chapter, I will not be creating any purchase requisition automatically. So therefore, let me create a purchase requisition manually. What is the transaction code for creating purchase requisition manually? Any idea from anybody? Or you tell me, you help me navigate into purchase requisition node.
ME51.
Okay, because you have been doing regularly, I guess that's the reason you said ME51. And I wanted to navigate from SAP Easy Access screen.
Logistics.
Okay.
Material management.
Right.
Purchasing.
Mm-hmm.
Purchase requisition.
Right.
ME51 and create.
Good. So ME51N is the transaction code to create a purchase requisition. While creating requisition, you should understand what data needs to be given, what are the views available in purchase requisition, which field is mandatory, which field is optional, so on and so forth. Now you could see here, this is what we call it as create purchase requisition. Now look at here. This is called, okay, I wanted to show you the difference also. ME51 is the old transaction. ME51N is the new, or what we call it as enjoy transaction. Okay, so therefore let's go with old transaction ME51. Okay. Now, while creating material master, what is that we have given in the first screen? Pavitra or Lakshmi, while creating material master, what is that?
Material group description.
First screen. MM01.
Industry and material type.
Exactly.
Industry and material type.
Why do you want to give those two?
Because we want the material master to be created for a particular industry and for that particular type of material type.
Okay, so why material type is required? What does it control? Material type controls lot of things. Screens, screen fields, number ranges, so on and so forth. Yes or no? It's very simple. I'm asking you these probing questions because that's how to learn the subject. What material type is for material? Similarly, your document type holds the same significance for the documents. Whether it is purchase requisition or purchase order, you will have to have a document based on which only your system recognizes that you are creating a purchase requisition or a purchase order, etc. Okay. Now, in the material master, you have some key called what? Industry sector. M, U, B. This is what we have given. F, C, isn't it? So, the combination of material type and industry sector is controlling lot many things in a material master. Similarly, while creating transactions, you have some similarities. The similarities are, look at here, while creating a purchase requisition, which is a transaction or which is a document, you require a document type which is as good as your material type, right? Similarly, while creating a transaction called purchase requisition, you need a document category which is nothing but a purchase requisition. So therefore, okay, here if you look into create purchase requisition and create purchase requisition, what you call easy access and I'm sorry, enjoy transactions and obsolete transaction. If you look at it, you could see first of all, so I need to enter, let me go with old one so that you will understand it easily. ME51, document type. Where do I enter document category? I have no answer for time being. Okay, keep your question park aside for 5 minutes. Now, item category, account assignment category, delivery date format, is it DDMMYY or YYMMDD? Similarly, plant location, storage location, purchasing group, etc. etc. You have to give it. So time being, I am giving document type for purchase requisition as NB. Okay, so this is the requisition, right? Sourcing determination, I am going with check. I have no item category. We will discuss about item categories little later. I have no account assignment category, but I want the material to be delivered on so and so date. 14. Into which plant do you require this material? 77C.
Sir, you're not able to view your screen, sir.
Or did you lost it? No. I think I'm still sharing my screen. How about others?
Yes, I can view the screen, sir.
The screen's freeze.
No problem, sir.
Or has it got freezed?
Looks like it.
So in which screen am I in right now?
Create
Create
purchase
purchase
requisition.
Create purchase requisition, initial screen, right? Storage location is not mandatory in case of purchasing documents because you need not have to specify into which location are you going to receive the material. That location is required only at the time of receipt of material, so you can skip it off. Purchasing group, in case if you want to give, you can give purchasing group. Let's say, let me give purchasing group as something like 004 and hit enter. Okay, delivery date is in the past. Okay, bring it to future. 1406. Okay, now look at here, because I have maintained the default data in the initial screen, so they got defaulted. Now here you have to specify which material are you going to purchase. You go with F4, you specify the material description by plant. You see here, by simply clicking it here, I am actually running table MERC. how you see I'm telling the system you take 77C as the plant and list down me materials which are created for 77C plant. Now you could see here currently there are how many? Five materials available. Okay, so what I'll be doing is I'll be selecting one. Okay, something like this. System links, right? And then how much quantity do you require? For example, 100. Execute it. I'll click enter. Okay. Now after entering this, if you want to see item details, where do you see? Sudhakar or,
Environment.
or Pavitra? ఇప్పుడు నేను మెటీరియల్
Select a
డీటెయిల్స్
line item
చూడాలనుకుంటున్నాను.
and click on environment.
Sorry?
Near item. Just item I.
You want to see the material details?
Correct.
Double click on the material master, you can see that.
So if I double click it will go to material master. But I wanted to see
Yeah.
the information in the purchase requisition itself. Oh, I think I've lost the power. Hello?
Welcome to GoToMeeting, online meetings made easy. There are 5 other callers on the call.
Are you guys there? Hello?
Chappan
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, Vendor.
Okay, PowerPoint అండి. So I've got my alternative backup.
Okay sir.
ఆవిడ రాధిక గారు వెళ్ళిపోయినట్లున్నారు. పవిత్ర ఒకసారి ఆమె కాల్ చేస్తారా?
Okay, sir.
సుందర్రావు గారు మనకి కరెంట్ కష్టాలు ఏంటండి? ఎప్పుడు తీరుతాయి?
సార్
ఈ కరెంట్ కష్టాలు ఏంటి సార్?
వచ్చాను.
ఆ?
సార్ మా దగ్గర కూడా కరెంట్ పోయింది సార్.
ఓ, మరి మీరు ఎట్లా కనెక్ట్ అయ్యారండి?
సార్ మీ దగ్గర బ్యాకప్ ఉంది, మా దగ్గర లేదు.
మీరు ఎలా కనెక్ట్ అయ్యారు ఇప్పుడు? హౌ డు యు స్పీక్ నా? నేను రిలయన్స్ నెట్ కనెక్ట్ తీసుకున్నానండి. టేకెన్ ఇట్ బ్యాక్ ఎస్టర్డే. వాళ్ళు మా టీమ్మేట్స్కి చెప్పి బాబు నాకు ఇవ్వండి కావాలి అని. మీరు హౌ డు యూ యూజ్ ద సిస్టమ్ అండి? డూ యూ హ్యావ్ యూపీఎస్ ఆర్ నెట్ ఎట్లా మీరు యూజ్ చేస్తున్నారు ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్? ఈజ్ ఇట్ వైర్లెస్ బ్రాడ్బ్యాండ్ ఆర్ నెట్ కనెక్టర్? ఏంటి అసలు మీరు యూజ్ చేస్తారు?
సార్
మీరు యూజ్ చేసే నెట్ ఏంటండి?
సార్
యా చెప్పండి పవిత్ర.
రాధిక వాళ్ళ ఇంట్లో పవర్ పోయిందంటే సార్.
ఆవిడ కూడా ఈ చుట్టుపక్కల ఉంటారేంటి? ఎస్ఆర్ నగర్, వెంగళరావు నగర్.
సార్ మా దగ్గర కూడా పవర్ పోయింది సార్.
Maybe you need to train relocate to another city.
మారుతామండి ఇవన్నీ వేసుకుని మళ్ళీ ఎక్కడ రమ్మంటారు చెప్పండి? బెంగళూరు అక్కడి నుంచి.
No, it is everywhere I guess because
సార్ బీమ్ కేబుల్ యూజ్ చేస్తే పవర్ పోయినా వస్తుంది కదా సార్ నెట్.
బీమ్ అండి?
Training.
బీమ్ వాళ్ళది వైర్లెస్ అండి మీరు చెప్పేది పవిత్ర?
కాదు సార్ బ్రాడ్బ్యాండ్ సార్.
పవర్ పోతే ఎట్లా
వాళ్ళకి
వస్తుంది?
బ్యాటరీ బ్యాకప్ ఉంటుంది. వాళ్ళకి బ్యాటరీ బ్యాకప్ కూడా వాళ్ళు అరేంజ్ చేస్తున్నారు. పవర్ పోయినా కూడా నెట్ వస్తుంది సార్.
మరి ఒకవేళ మీరు డెస్క్టాప్ అయితే ఏం చేస్తారు అప్పుడు మీరు?
డెస్క్టాప్ అయితే ప్రాబ్లం. ఇంకా అప్పుడు యూపీఎస్ ఓన్లీ 20 minutes వరకే ఉంటుంది కదా.
అంతే కదా, మ్యాక్స్ హాఫ్ అన్ అవర్.
యా మ్యాక్స్ హాఫ్ అన్ అవర్.
యూపీఎస్ కూడా ఉండదు సార్ ఇంకా.
అదే ల్యాప్టాప్ అయితే పర్లేదు, 2 hours 4 hours 6 hours బ్యాకప్ ఉంటుంది కాబట్టి దట్స్ ఓకే. డెస్క్టాప్ అయితే కష్టం కదా.
డెస్క్టాప్ కూడా యూపీఎస్ ఉంటుంది సార్, 1.5 hour దాకా ఉంటుంది.
అంతా మీలాగా ఇన్వర్టర్ లాగా పెట్టుకుంటామండి.
అయ్యి బాబాయ్ అలాంటి ఎలా సార్?
ఏం చిన్నవాళ్ళం కదా సార్ మేము. ఓకే, సో shall we continue for half an hour? ఎవరెవరు వెళ్ళిపోయారు ఇప్పుడు? లక్ష్మి ఈస్ దేర్, పవిత్ర ఈస్ దేర్, రాధిక గారు ఒక్కలే కదా వెళ్ళింది.
ఇక్కడ 2 పని.
సారీ అండి, ఏం చెప్తున్నారు మీరు?
నా దగ్గర యూపీఎస్ ఇన్వర్టర్ 2 ఉన్నాయి సార్ నా దగ్గర.
అందుకే మీరు పెద్దవాళ్ళని చెప్తున్నారు. Right. So what do we do? Shall we continue? Yeah, response out there. Pavitra, Lakshmi.
sir even I don't have power at my place sir.
మరి మీరు ఎలా వినగలుగుతున్నారండి?
Hello sir, Lakshmi.
Yeah, how can you hear?
Sir, there is no power even at my place sir.
Correct అండి, బట్ మీరు ఎలా వినగలుగుతున్నారు? How are you managing?
Laptop backup or it will come only for maybe 20 minutes.
I see. So I just stopped.
Reliance Net Connect.
Yeah, so in fact I am using the same.
Reliance Net Connect.
Correct. So what's your preference? Do you want me to stop it now, or shall we continue for another 20 minutes or so?
బీమ్ తీసుకోండి సార్, బాగుంటుంది.
నాకు ప్రాబ్లం లేదండి, ఇంకా నేను బికాజ్ ఐ డూ హ్యావ్ దిస్ రిలయన్స్ నెట్ కనెక్ట్, సో నాకు ప్రాబ్లం ఉండదు.
మీ వాయిస్ చాలా బ్రేకింగ్ వస్తుంది సార్.
మై వాయిస్?
నో, ఐ థింక్
ఇప్పుడండి పవిత్ర, హౌ ఇస్ ఇట్ నౌ?
గెట్ సమ్ క్లియర్ వాయిస్ ఫ్రమ్ యూ.
Is it clear? Audible?
No, it is audible, but in between it is breaking your voice.
That's because the net connector speed is not as good as my broadband.
ఈ బ్రాడ్బ్యాండ్ ఏది సార్?
ఎయిర్టెల్ అండి.
ఎయిర్టెల్ సార్, కైండ్లీ చేంజ్ ఇమీడియట్లీ బీమ్ సార్.
ఎయిర్టెల్ బాగానే ఉంటుంది కదండి.
కొంచెం వాయిస్ బ్రేకింగ్ వస్తుంది, నేను చాలాసార్లు అబ్జర్వ్ చేస్తున్నా, కానీ ఇక్కడ అది సర్వర్లో ఉన్న ప్రాబ్లం ఉందని అనుకున్నాను నేను.
ఓకే, అయితే బీమ్ పెట్టరామా? ఈవెన్ పవిత్ర is saying కదా పవర్ లేకపోయినా ఒకటి వస్తుంది అని. I thought of going for Ticona. There is something called Ticona. Have you guys know it? Ticona అని ఒకటి ఉంది.
తెలియదు సార్ నాకు.
టికోనా అని ఒకటి ఉంది. మాది మొత్తం సిటీలో అంతా వాళ్ళు ఇస్తారు, బ్రాడ్బ్యాండ్ ఇస్తున్నారు, బట్ బయటికి వెళ్తే రాదు. వై ఐ టుక్ నెట్ కనెక్ట్ ఇస్ బికాస్ ఈవెన్ వైల్ వీఆర్ మొబైల్, ఊరికి వెళ్ళినా, బెంగళూరుకి వెళ్ళినా, ఎక్కడికి వెళ్ళినా పనిచేస్తుంది అని చెప్పేసి దీన్ని తీసుకున్నాను.
బాగా పనిచేస్తుంది సార్.
ఇది భీమ్ అండి.
అవును సార్. జస్ట్ నాకు 6 months ఒకసారి తీసుకున్నాడు. అంటే ఎవ్రీ మంత్ అయితే ఇన్స్టాలేషన్ ఛార్జెస్ 500 రూపీస్ కలెక్ట్ చేస్తాడు. మనం 6 months ఒకసారి పే చేస్తే ఇన్స్టాలేషన్ ఛార్జ్ 500 ఫ్రీ వస్తుంది. 500 రూపీస్.
ఎంత అండి?
2000.
స్పీడ్ ఎంత?
ఇక్కడ బంజారా హిల్స్ లో
స్పీడ్ ఎంత సార్? స్పీడ్
అది 400. ఇప్పుడు నేను తీసుకున్న నార్మల్ స్పీడ్ సార్. ఇంకోటి ఏమో ఇంకా బాగా స్పీడ్ వస్తుంది.
నాది
2 ఆప్షన్స్ ఉన్నాయి.
నాది ఎయిర్టెల్ బ్రాడ్బ్యాండ్ 2 Mbps స్పీడ్. Okay, so let's try to proceed and then let's continue and then see to what extent we can go for. India 1 2 3. Okay, so let me just go and create a couple of equations and then we will depart. So 51 yen, we were discussing about the differences between 51 and 51 yen, ME51. Like while creating any document, you have to specify what is the document type. So here you have a document type. Okay, there will be different document types, but in real-time system, you won't have these many. You have this one EC, SRM requisition. You have something called NB, standard requisition, and you have something called RV, outline agreement requisition. These three are meant for the standard ones. So I'll go with standard requisition NB. FO, framework requisition, you're right. Okay, and then I go with source determination. I'm not giving any account assignment category or item category for time being. Assume it I wanted material on, for example, 12th of this month. Okay, my plant I'm going to specify 77C. Storage location and all I need not have to specify. Even purchasing group I need not have to specify. Okay, now you see I'm here in this particular screen. Now let me go and pick up the material. Which material do I require? Let's say 77C. This is the plant. I've got these many materials. For example, rear wheel tire. This is the material that I wanted. How much quantity? For example, 10. If I hit enter, now you see there is certain data which gets defaulted. Example, unit of measure I did not give, short text I did not give, material group I did not give, this purchasing group also I did not give it. So all these things get defaulted into your requisition. That's the reason we have to maintain master data first. So therefore the data will automatically get defaulted into it. Now you need to remember two things. Any document in SAP will have actually 3 sections: header, item overview, and item details. The one that you see is called as item overview screen. Purchase requisition has no header information. The header information is something like your document type, document category, date on which it is created. That's it. Okay. Now you see here, if you want to see further details, you see here, when you go with, like this, when you go with details, system is asking you to select the item first. You select the item, then you go to details, right? So here When you go into details, you see here quantity of 10, delivery date of so and so, requisition of so and so, tracking number so and so. All these things will automatically get defaulted. And then valuation control, price is this one, okay, goods receipt required, right, invoice required, GR non-validated, isn't it? So this is how you go and create a purchase requisition. There is a lot of information available here, but if I wanted to go into that information, what I have to do, let me just go and display the purchase of requisition once again. So this is the one that I've just created. If I wanted to see delivery information, you select the line, go to delivery address, right? So if you go into delivery address, where you could see where the material is going to be delivered. Obviously, this is Chennai plant. Similarly, if you want to see something else, you should go into, for example, account assignment information like this. Of course, no account assignment information maintained for that, right? Services, statistics, release information. For example, you wanted to see the changes that's been made, you can just go and check like this, right? So this is one way of creating requisition. The other way is going with standard purchase requisition, but this time with enjoy transaction, which is ME51N. You see here by default the purchase requisition standard, which you could see it here, right? So you can choose the requisition document type which you wanted to have it. You see here header. Look at here. This is what the document section is. Header, item overview, item details. In the header section, for a purchase requisition, you have only one thing, that is document number, date on which the document is created, and the document type and category. Okay. So now I am going with item overview. I'll just go and maintain or enter the what we call it as material number. I just go and maintain the material number. Something called rear wheel tire. This is the one. How much quantity do I require? Sorry. Go with this. Maintain the quantity, something like 100. In which plant you require? 77C. Hit enter. Okay, so this table is called as item overview table, which contains basically what are the items that you are going to procure. And then you see here actually under item, this is called item details table, right? So in the item details table, you see the material number, material group. Okay, so in case if you have short text, division level, so on and so forth, and quantities, unit of measures, in case if you have any other different units. Okay, all these things will be available in the enjoy transaction. Otherwise, in case of older transactions, each tab is going to be a separate page, so you have to go with select item and then go with go to then the page, so on and so forth, that you have to see. Now if you go into status, or rather contact person, okay, you could see here processing status not edited, blocked ID, so on and so forth. Now if you go into contact person, where you could see whether this is created manually, automatically, whatever means. You see here creation indicator, real-time manual created by Lakshmi, the user ID, purchasing group, so on and so forth, 004, MRP controller, etc. information, and then you go and save it. Okay, so this is what we call it as processing of requisitions. Okay. How to create purchase requisition? As you have seen here, we went with manual creation of a requisition. So let me stop it here. We will discuss about account assignment category and item category tomorrow. Okay, so we will discuss about account assignment and item category tomorrow. We will complete the purchase requisition and then go ahead with other topics like RFQ, right, quotations, and then rest of the master data like source list and purchasing info record, etc. Any questions here? Because account assignment category, if I have to explain, I have to explain item category and account assignment category, which will take more than half an hour. So, and because for some of you, you do not have the power backup. Of course, my battery can last long for more than 2 hours, but since we have got problems with other people, let's go and stop it for today, and then we'll continue with it tomorrow. Any questions?
Okay, sir.